But then, Brian, the moment we were all waiting for finally came after we sat through the rest of this suffering to get to the meat of the matter. MJF comes out, makes his entrance. They go to the break. On the other side of the break, you hear it like Mussolini and Al's number one Chicago Italian beef. See, I had to throw that in. It was hometown favorite.
Nice little loose mention there, yeah.
Remember, Al's number one Chicago Italian beef is the favorite of Moose Cholak. MJF versus Punk, and I looked and I said, they've got 45 minutes on the air, but they're calling it the main event. This could be good. And with all that time, they took their time and they built the anticipation. And MJF opened up with a cheap shot because he's the heel, and Punk turned it around and started taking it to him. MJF got tied up in the ropes, did the Terry Funk up and down. And if you notice, they had to be watching tapes for this match because they brought out all kinds of tricks and little ebbs and flows and little ways to pay homage to the stars of yesteryear. They had a fucking match. Not only they had a grudge match. MJF tried to powder. Punk chased him out of the ring, up the bleachers, and beat him up. The referee went with him. The announcers are covering it. The referee not wanting to count him out this early. This is when you play with the rules. A match that people want to see between two main event guys that's been built. And now in the babyface's hometown, you're giving them the payoff to what they've been wanting to see. This is when you let some things go. You have guys running around fighting in the arena, or you have the referee being lax on the count out or whatever, because that makes it stand out even more. If it's every match, it means nothing. So anyway, Punk even did the series of body slams. They were chanting one more time for a body slam. They were having a pro wrestling match, and it was so refreshing because we don't see them very often. And then just a simple thing to go to the break. Punk charges, MJF moves, Punk hits the post, goes to the floor, and MJF starts heat on the arm, the left arm that he fucking ran into the post with. And they went to the break. Nice and easy to understand. They come back. Imagine that. MJF's getting heat on the arm. But Punk fights back, gets a little bit of a comeback. Went for the elbow off the top. MJF crotched him on the top rope before he could come off. Starts heat on the arm again. Every time that Punk would come back or get an opening, the people would get with it, but MJF would shut him down because it wasn't time for the big blow up yet, the big comeback. And again, they got creative with different ways to do it. Then the one spot that I didn't like, and it wasn't either one of their fault, actually maybe partially a little bit Punk, but Bryce Remsburg, the referee, this is where you need a Tommy Young, because all of his mannerisms were so natural to what he would do. A lot of the other referees, they're not asked to get into the middle of a bunch of spots, therefore they don't have a lot of practice, whatever, but you saw where MJF goes in the corner, pulls the referee in front of him, hiding behind the referee. Punk pulls the referee out, puts his arm around him to walk him out in the middle, like, let me take care of this, and turns around, and MJF actually didn't turn around. As he's walking the referee out, MJF took tape from around his wrist and slipped it over Punk's neck. That's fine. But the referee kept walking after Punk got grabbed all the way to the opposite corner without turning around, messing with his shirt collar. It was so unnatural. It killed the spot. All Punk had to do was grab the referee and pull him out with the referee facing away from MJF and step by the referee, go like, get out of here. And MJF could have got the thing around, but the referee could have turned around within 2 seconds and wouldn't have seen it. That was awkward. Should have been quicker. However, once that he wraps the tape around Punk's neck, MJF covers it with a sleeper. And he's got the sleeper on with the tape around his neck that he's already choked him. The referee can't see him. He puts him to sleep. The referee checks the hand and rings the bell. And the people are bullshit. And they start playing the music. Because if that's the finish, that's what they do. And then I swear to God, the referee walks over as soon as I saw how MJF was standing. MJF had shoved the tape that he'd used to cheat with underneath his armpit. And so nobody would see it, and had his other arm up, and the referee comes over and raises the arm he had down. The tape falls out, and the referee sees it. Again, that was Jerry Lawler and Jack Briscoe in the Mid-South Coliseum in 1974. Only it was a chain, not tape. Again, the poor referee had wooden face. He pulled MJF's arm up and didn't look down at the tape falling out because he knew it was falling, so he knew he saw it. Instead, he just looked straight at MJF like, oh. So it wasn't a real reaction, but it was a good spot. And he restarts it. And the place blows, and Punk starts making a comeback, and MJF is bumping. And Punk takes him in 20 punches in the corner, not 10, 20. Straight to the head. Looking good with MJF not covering up. He's open for him. And not fucking Punk windmilling the area of his head, but throwing him to his fucking face. And the people counting. We went back in time to when this shit was actually watchable. So, again, Punk goes for the Scorpion. MJF kicks him off, and he takes a bump to the floor and re-injures his arm, and they go to the break. And they come back, and MJF's getting heat on him again. But Punk foiled the heat seeker pile driver gimmick, hits a springboard clothesline, but he's still selling his left arm. And then Punk hits the dive to the floor on MJF, but comes down on his knee and hurts his knee. And they're both selling. Punk tosses MJF in, but he's limping. So MJF takes back over. Punk comes out and gets an STF, but he can't hold it with his bad arm. And then they got the double bridge, this deep in the match. And Punk went for the go to sleep, but when he picked him up, the bad leg gave out. So MJF got an ankle lock. And the people are chanting, this is awesome. Because as we've mentioned, when you give them a wrestling match, they like it. They just don't see a lot of them. And then Punk rolls through and throws MJF to the buckle. They stood and traded. Punk hit that reverse Hurricane Rana. I hate those things. I don't know how people don't break their necks. But they were selling, both were exhausted. Punk can't stand up. MJF is selling his neck now. They almost wiped the referee out, but he ducked out of the way on a roll-up. He ducked out of the way, and MJF mule kicks Punk in the nuts and gets a 2 count. And they go to the break again. Holy shit. And they're coming back. Punk is selling but fighting from underneath. MJF foils a bulldog attempt by biting Punk's finger. And then Punk turns around and bites MJF's head. And hit the pedigree, which he calls the Pepsi plunge, off the turnbuckles. But he can't cover because he's selling his bad knee. And then they both reverse tombstones, one backwards and the other backwards. And then Punk drops MJF with a kick. Hits the elbow off the top. 2 count, huge pop. This thing is cooking. And then, finally, Punk calls for the go to sleep, but he's still limping. MJF rolls to the floor. Here comes Wardlow. Steps over MJF and gets face to face with Punk, and then steps back like, do whatever the fuck you want. Punk tosses MJF back in, gets in, turns to look at Wardlow, turns back, MJF nails Punk with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Boom. And falls on him 1, 2, 3. Punk's first defeat, and because MJF had won the match that was restarted, nobody expected him to win win again. So everybody was calling mentally in their minds that Punk was going to win the thing, and they swerved him there. The only bad thing, they showed a replay, which I get was set up, obviously. This is what they wanted to do, which showed Wardlow passing the ring while he was face-to-face with Punk. He passed the ring to MJF on the floor behind his back. The original camera shot didn't see it. Probably by design, it looked like. And this so that they could catch it in the replay. But while that was good, the people in the arena didn't catch it. And when MJF rolled in, he already had the ring on. When he throws the punch, he falls on his stomach and he put the ring back in his tights under his belly. So the people in the arena, I don't think they ever saw the ring. I think it would have been better if when he was thrown in, he already had the ring. When Punk gets in and looks back at Wardlow, either MJF could have come up with the motion like he's setting the ring good, or after he threw the punch, he could have taken the ring off where they could have seen it and put it in his trunks before he went face down to hide it from the referee. Then the people in the arena would have got it instantly. Otherwise than that, they went 45 minutes with this thing, and I could have watched plenty more because it was fresh. It made sense. They kept things moving. Nothing was out of place. They gave us a little bit of everything. And, what a fucking little roller coaster ride there. So, again, they gave a handful of people that can do marvelous work with any amount of time that they're given. And then the rest of the show, you got to sit through to watch what you want to see. What'd you think?
I thought it was really good. Took a while to get there, though. I hated the stuff on the floor at the beginning. I'm not a big fan of that in general, but especially when you start the match with it, not a big fan of that.
And I can see that. And that's why I said, if they didn't do it all the time, this is where you're supposed to do it. But the reason why that it looks so normal is because everybody does it.
But good match. And like you said, I was surprised that MJF got the victory because you were certainly taught through watching wrestling for years that he was about to get screwed over. Or he's about to lose to CM Punk. And I shouldn't say screwed over after that, but it didn't happen.
You would have thought conventional wisdom was his out was winning the illegal one that was restarted. That was his excuse, his out, his bitch, his gripe. Which is why this was better the way they did it like that.
Yeah, I thought it was good. The biggest problem for me may have been I didn't like the beginning of the match. And everything before the match on the show was really bad, or almost everything, to the point where it made me not really in the mood for the match. And that's a shame because this is one of the biggest matches they've had on free TV in a while.
That's why, to be honest with you, I don't know why Punk, Danielson, and a couple of other guys don't get together and go to Tony and just say, Tony, Jesus H. Christ, we are literally hurting ourselves on purpose to get your company over. And we can't do it on a show where you've got all this fucking foolishness with all the various executive vice presidents living out their own mental masturbatory fantasies and or have, a bunch of indie talent doing not very good shit on the program to either make people tune out before they see us or like you were just not in the mood to see it because you've had to sit through so much other horse shit. Somebody at some point is going to have to explain to him, look, these people have been wanting to love your show since day one. They hate the evil empire. They hate Vince McMahon. They hate the WWE. And the WWE is the most boring wrestling show we've ever seen on television. Now is the time. But you can't do it with these goofy fucking little pet projects of yours. And you need to get somebody to write a television program that knows how to write a television program. These are your faults, Tony. Thank you for starting this company and giving us all a place to work and giving the fans hope that there'll be some other kind of wrestling besides the WWE. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by not having people that know what the fuck they're doing in positions to be able to do it. And that's why, again, we've said it for every week. The WWE gives them every advantage, hands them loaded weapons, hands them all the stars they want, and they say, God damn it, we don't care how bad you want us to kick your ass, we're still going to do television shows that are rotten to the average wrestling fan. If you are not convinced and committed to watching and liking AEW television to the extent of all, you've just decided to forego all reason and all logic and your eyesight and everything, and this fake stupid stuff isn't happening. That's the only way that you can possibly excuse this. So I mean, and we're 2 years in now, and even if somebody can make the case that, oh, there wasn't enough available talent, even the guy's a fucking billionaire, he could have found the available talent 2 years ago, that it's different now. And still the one joke guy with his hands in his pockets, and still I won't say thankfully the one is injured, but still we have an ongoing invasion of Japanese schoolgirls because of one of the EVPs. The other one can't keep his wife out of the goddamn ring, even though people would rather give a kidney up than see Brandy again. It's chaos because nobody's in charge, and there's no one view here. There's no one vision. There's no one person dictating the logic of this universe. It's like if the biggest movie studio in history decided we're going to sign 40 movie stars and we're going to let them decide what kind of movie they want to make, and we're going to give them 10 or 15 directors just to see if we can keep them from walking off the set accidentally. What would it turn out like? Be a fucking mess. That's what this show is. It's a mess. There's elements of greatness with the people that are capable of doing it. And then it's insulting, embarrassing, or just plain rotten for the people who aren't. And we all know who all those people are. It's disheartening, Brian, to see somebody this close to, if not putting the WWE out of business, obviously, certainly that's not going to happen, at least just having a better, consistent product. But whereas the WWE is just kind of flatlined, and it is what it is for the most part, AEW can soar with the Eagles, and the next segment they can scratch with the chickens. And it's even more frustrating when parts of the show are good and the rest sucks than when it all sucks. There's hope. They can't see how to do it. I don't know. Anything else you want to say about this program?
Not really. I guess I'm glad also they didn't go with an easy or lazy way of paying off the MJF Wardlow thing. They're still prolonging that, and everyone probably expected him to turn on MJF there. It's also not the end of Punk and MJF, I wouldn't think, so we'll still get to see more chapters in his story, and that's at least good, because the one segment on this show, it's either 1 and 2 with Danielson and Punk and MJF, or just Punk and MJF. It's the one segment that's always good. I hope it continues for a while.